Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're tackling something I think pretty much everyone feels at some point, that
Yeah.
feeling like you're constantly running, trying to reach this finish line of being enough, but often not for yourself, right? More
Yep.
for like everyone else.
Exactly. Friends, partners, society, you name it.
Yeah, we're talking about that chase for validation. And it's not just personal relationships, it's tied into, society's very specific ideas about success.
hmm The source material really links this to modern hustle culture metrics, being on 24/7, optimizing
The
everything.
quantified self thing and this um, illusion that
Yeah.
even your recovery, your emotional healing, has to be somehow productive.
Right. And the real kicker, the paradox, is that even if you do hit those external goals, get the promotion, nail the perfect routine, tick all the boxes, there's often this quiet emptiness still there. So, our deep dive today is based on this really thoughtful reflection about inner peace, about self-healing. And it focuses on a big shift. What happens when we stop the chase and actually start listening? Listening to what we genuinely need.
Okay, so our mission here is to kind of give you a framework for thinking about real self-growth. Because according to these sources, the transformation isn't so much about constant rigid reinvention. It's more about what they call unbecoming everything you're not.
Yeah, that's the core idea we want to unpack. And here's the surprising bit we really want you to get. True transformation. It rarely looks like that perfect checklist. The standard advice. Meditate flawlessly, jump out of bed at 5 a.m., write 3 pages of profound thought.
Right, the highlight reel version of self-help.
Exactly, the real work. It's often much quieter, it's definitely not linear, and it requires, well, a kind of radical acceptance.
Okay, let's definitely unpack that. This theme of non-linear growth. Because that checklist thinking is
hmm
it's everywhere. If you're not actively optimizing, you feel like you're failing or falling behind. We're just taught that growth has to look productive.
That's where we get mixed up, I think. Confusing activity with actual progress. Now, don't get me wrong, structured things, meditation, exercise, they have value, of course. But the sources really trust that healing doesn't demand a flawless routine. What it demands is authenticity, being real with yourself.
Okay, so if healing doesn't always look like optimization, what does it look like when we're actually making progress? Can you give us some of those counter examples? Because that reframing feels really key.
Yeah, absolutely. The material points to these very specific, often quiet acts of self-honesty as proof of progress. Like sometimes healing is just sleeping in because your nervous system is shot, it's exhausted, and rest is genuinely the most important thing you can do right then.
Not lazy, but necessary.
Exactly. Or it might look like saying a really firm no, even when that people-pleasing part inside you is screaming, just say yes, keep the peace.
Uh-huh. That's a tough one.
It is, and maybe the most radical one. Sometimes healing looks like doing nothing at all, consciously choosing peace, choosing restoration over ticking another thing off the list, prioritizing quiet over productivity.
That really flips the script on what a setback means. Which brings us to that core concept you mentioned. Growth isn't a straight line, it's more like a spiral.
Yes, the spiral analogy, it's so important because it helps normalize revisiting things, pain, old patterns. You will find yourself working through lessons you thought you'd already mastered. You will have feelings about stuff you were sure you were over.
Okay, but how do we deal with that feeling of failure when that happens? You see yourself circling back to the same old fear, the same wound, and your immediate thought is, oh no, I'm back at square one.
And that feeling is totally understandable, but the sources say it's really a product of that linear progress must always go up mindset. The way to shift it, the mechanism suggested, is reframing. Every time you revisit something, it's not regression. Think of it as a deeper release.
Well, a deeper release.
Yeah. The reason you're feeling that wound again might be because you're actually stronger now, strong enough to see a root cause you couldn't see before. Or maybe you finally built up the capacity to let go of a defense mechanism that you needed back then, but don't anymore.
Ah, that's interesting. So the supposed setback actually shows you how much lighter you've become, how much more capacity you have since the last time you dealt with it. You're not starting over it. You're just higher up on the spiral, looking at the same landscape, but from a different perspective.
Exactly. It completely changes the definition of success. It's not, I never feel this pain again. It's, I can handle this feeling now with more awareness, more insight.
Okay, that makes sense. So if the spiral shows us growth isn't linear, then we have to tackle that cultural pressure, right? The idea that growth needs to be spectacular, this constant glow-up pressure. What does the source material call the pushback against that kind of performance?
They call it the quiet revolution because we face this intense pressure, don't we? Always evolving, always proving we're better, stronger, shinier. But the real transformation, according to this view, isn't about becoming some perfect, optimized version. It's about unbecoming, shedding everything you're not.
Unbecoming, like taking off masks, getting rid of learned behaviors, the emotional static, other people's expectations.
Precisely. You strip all that away, and what's left is, well, you, your core self.
But what does that unbecoming actually look like in terms of, like, behavior? What are we shedding?
Essentially, you're shedding roles. The role of the constant performer, the people pleaser, the harsh inner critic. It means maybe forgetting how to guard your heart quite so fiercely all the time and noticing how much calmer, how much more peaceful your energy feels when you stop trying so hard for external applause.
Okay, and this leads us straight into defining true self-love then, because it sounds, well, a lot softer, maybe quieter, than the version we often see marketed. The sources are pretty specific about what self-love isn't.
Yeah, it's definitely not loud. It's not about forcing yourself to chant morning affirmations you don't actually believe or posting those perfect confidence quotes online.
Yeah.
That's more performance, isn't it?
So what is it then? What does true self-love look like in this context?
It's more about gentle, consistent action, choosing yourself even when it's inconvenient for others, like setting a boundary that might create a little ripple.
Right, not seeking conflict, but not avoiding necessary boundaries either.
Exactly. It's about making peace with your so-called flaws, seeing them as just part of your story instead of things you constantly need to fix or hide. And maybe the biggest takeaway here, your worth isn't something you earn through endless effort. It's something you remember through awareness.
Wow, okay, that flips the whole script on performance culture. If we stop hustling to prove our value, what are the immediate anxieties we might face, like professional fears, maybe social awkwardness?
I think the biggest one is the anxiety of stillness. Performance culture gives us a script, right? Something to do.
That's right.
When we drop that script and start to realize our value is just there, intrinsic, it can feel a bit disorienting at first. Like, what do I do now?
Yeah, I can see that.
And this acceptance has a duality. Some days, showing up fully, being productive, that is an act of self-love. But other days, loving yourself means radical rest, just letting yourself breathe. Both are valid. The key is that they come from honest self-assessment, not just avoidance or pressure.
Makes sense. Okay, so from self-love, let's pivot to its foundation, self-trust. The sources really hammer this. Home trust is essential. You can't really love yourself if you don't trust yourself.
Absolutely. How can you? If you know deep down that you won't consistently show up for yourself, that
Yeah.
you'll let yourself down, love can't really flourish there.
And we betray that trust in really subtle ways, don't we?
Right.
Every day, sometime.
Oh, constantly. Like saying yes when your gut is screaming no, or
Yeah.
pushing yourself way past burnout because you feel you should.
Or just silencing your own feelings to keep the peace in a relationship or a group.
Exactly. Every single time we override that inner knowing, that intuition, we're chipping away at that foundation of self-trust.
So if that foundation feels shaky for someone listening,
Hmm.
how do they start rebuilding? It doesn't sound like flipping a switch, more like a slow, deliberate process.
It's definitely rebuilt in small, gentle moments. Consistency over grand gestures is key. And the main practical step, it sounds simple, but keep small promises to yourself.
Okay, let's get specific. What counts as a small promise that actually, like, moves the needle on self-trust? Is it literally just, I'll put my phone down at 9 p.m. and doing it, or sticking to a tiny boundary?
Both are perfect examples. It's the low-stakes consistency that builds the muscle. If you promise yourself you'd stop work at 7, and maybe you stop at 7:05, you still basically kept the promise. That counts.
Okay.
If you told yourself you'd drink a glass of water before your coffee and you actually do it, that's a brick in the foundation. It also means things like stopping the need to over-explain yourself all the time. You don't owe everyone a detailed report justifying your choices or your time.
Right. Trusting your own reasons are valid enough.
Yes, and each little act of honesty, each time you follow through for yourself, it becomes another solid brick. The result, the sources suggest, is pretty profound. You gradually become your own safe space. You stop looking outside for security because you're building it within yourself through that consistent commitment.
Okay, so that brings us towards the sort of end goal, maybe, peace and acceptance. We often think healing means, like, the pain is gone forever, no more hurt. But the source material says that's not quite it.
Right. Healing doesn't mean you'll never feel pain again. That's unrealistic. It means the pain no longer controls you.
Ah, okay. That's a critical difference.
Huge difference. It's about capacity. Healing means you can feel deep sadness, acknowledge it, sit with it, but not drown in it. You can feel anxiety rise up, but you can still choose to breathe, stay present instead of letting it completely hijack you or force you into old reactive patterns.
So true strength isn't being unshakable like a robot. It's about being real
Hmm.
and responsive, but not reactive.
Exactly. And this includes embracing what the sources call the sacred pause, allowing yourself to feel broken, to rest without judging yourself for it, giving your spirit, your soul, whatever you want to call it, space to catch up with the pace of life.
We have to consciously resist that pressure to always be on, always performing strength.
Yes. And when we do stop rushing, stop performing, there's this quiet magic that starts to happen. Subtle things. You start noticing small shifts inside, like maybe genuine laughter bubbles up for the first time in ages. Or you notice a softness in your own voice when you talk to yourself kindly.
Or just noticing simple things again, like sunlight in a room.
Yeah, those tiny things are proof your nervous system is settling down, becoming regulated enough to actually register beauty and calm again.
That sounds like the end of the chase we started with. What does that real peace feel like then, when we arrive at that place of deep, unforced acceptance?
The sources describe it as this really palpable internal state. You realize you just don't crave chaos anymore or drama. You don't need it as a distraction. You stop actively seeking validation because you just know your own worth. That deep driving need to prove yourself to anyone, a boss, a partner, society's scoreboard, it just fades.
That's when you know the healing is really integrated.
Yeah, you feel that peace deep down, not because life is suddenly perfect, it never is, but because you're not fighting your reality anymore. You belong to yourself now. You've become the calm you were always searching for out there.
Wow.
And there's a final point really directed at you, the listener. The sources urge, stop apologizing. Stop apologizing for where you are on your journey, for needing time, for being sensitive or soft.
Mm-hmm.
That softness, it's not a flaw. The material actually calls it your superpower, because it's where empathy comes from, intuition, that ability for gentle, sustained self-care. It's strength, just a different kind.
Okay, so wrapping this all up,
Yeah.
what's the core message?
Yeah.
The final synthesis feels pretty simple, actually,
Mhm.
and reassuring. It's basically, you're doing okay.
Yeah.
You're doing beautifully, actually. You are healing, even when it feels impossibly slow, even when nobody else can see it.
Exactly. The journey was never about becoming more than you are. It was always about remembering the worth that's already there, that's always been there.
Right, you're not behind.
Yeah.
You're just becoming,
Yeah.
in your own time, in your own way.
In the most human, honest, and gentle way possible. Your path is yours alone.
So before we sign off from this deep dive, we want to leave you with just a final moment, a little space for reflection, really drawing from this idea of sincerity over speed.
Yeah, let's just take a pause right now, wherever you are. Maybe take a deep, deliberate breath, in and out. And if it feels right, maybe place a hand over your heart. Let's just practice one small act of that gentle self-trust, that self-kindness we've been talking about.
And maybe just whisper this phrase to yourself, silently or out loud.
Yeah.
I'm proud of you. I know it hasn't been easy, but look how far you've come. You made it this far. And that really is something extraordinary.
Remember, healing is about sincerity. It's not a race. If you're here, if you're listening, if you're reflecting, if you're trying even one tiny thing differently today, you're already doing the work. You are becoming enough simply by being. Thanks for diving deep with us today.